kind of an odd, crazy morning. So let's do diet first, right? Because diet's a huge thing. I think I'm on day 10 now. Is that right? 7, 8, 9, 10. Day 10. And I'm getting X-rays today at the chiropractor. Getting my 1 year X-rays. So we'll see how those come out. I'm curious. I'm quite curious myself. My diet, though, I had so chicken obviously didn't go well, and I'm still not sure about pork. I'm a little nervous to test. I'm kind of nervous to test anything. First time in my life I've really been afraid of food, but I'm really telling that I am seriously sensitive to some stuff. So I've been missing that one for the last 2+ years. And I mean, right, bone pressing the brainstem, like it's not a diet issue. But, but my immune system being totally jacked up does make a significant difference. So I probably can't recover it all the way because of the spine, brainstem stuff. But if I can improve it at all, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. So steak basically tastes like crap right now. So I haven't been eating that. But I had 3 burger patties yesterday. I went and bought like a huge, I don't know how many pounds of beef yesterday, and we already had some. I thawed it out of the freezer, thawed everything we had, cooked that up. So I just had tons of burgers, and I ate like 3 patties. Yeah, I ate 3 patties yesterday. I'm recording everything, so I don't have to. Oh, yes, I'm on page 2. It's a tiny recording, and then there's the first one. I wrote down, felt surprisingly good in the morning for this morning because I tried cheese yesterday. Now I can't just try any cheese because I'm guessing that would go bad, right? The idea is to eliminate down, and then I can test stuff. And I went to Meijer and looked through all their specialty cheeses and that type of stuff, and I found a raw, organic, grass-fed, unpasteurized, cultured milk with sea salt and vegetarian enzymes. And that's all it had in it. It didn't have anything else. It didn't have anti-mold stuff. It didn't have coloring. It didn't have any extra flavoring. It was just cheddar, raw, organic, grass-fed, cultured, unpasteurized milk with sea salt and enzymes. And I ate 8 ounces of it yesterday because I knew, like, today I'd be able to tell. I'd be able to tell. When did I eat that yesterday? Let's see. I ate the 8 ounces of that cheese at 1 p.m. yesterday. All right, and then I had 3 burger patties at 4:30 p.m. And I mean, feeling good today. So super surprised about that. I mean, I'm more surprised about that ending up being decent or good, or I feel good, so I guess good. That's more surprising to me than the chicken making me so bad, which was very surprising because chicken, I used to eat tons of chicken several days a week. I mean, my favorite food is homemade chicken pot pie. So yeah, not good. And then I've had issues with dairy. But here's the thing, right? It's illegal to buy or to sell raw milk in Michigan, so it's not like otherwise I would buy it. It's not like it's easy to get a hold of. You have to own part of the animal. Closest place to me is Coopersville. You can own part of a cow and get raw milk. And Zeeland, you can own part of a goat and get raw goat's milk, which I used to do that a number of years ago. Also where the DeVosses get their raw goat's milk, which was interesting to find out. Surprising. That woman has a super interesting story. She has a disease named after her at the Mayo Clinic, was sent home to die, and then just started eating raw organic stuff from her farm and spontaneously cured herself a bunch of years ago now. Super interesting. So I'm surprised about the cheese. Super surprised about the cheese. I'm gonna wait a little bit and probably try some later. I'm really scared to try any other type of cheese. I think the raw milk thing probably makes a huge difference. When you pasteurize milk, you heat it way up like that. They still heat the raw milk to a certain extent, especially when making cheese, because I think almost have to heat it, but they keep it below a certain temperature, because when you go above that temperature, it changes the structure of the proteins. It changes the structure of the amino acids. And then when they homogenize it, which is just a small luxury, I mean, the only difference between homogenized and unhomogenized milk is you have to shake it, basically, as far as consuming it. You have to shake it a few times before you drink it, but no one wants to do that. So we homogenize all the milk, and it completely changes the fat molecules. So those two things, basically, they're different, right? Raw milk versus pasteurized, homogenized milk, the protein and the fats are not the same. Well, isn't that just a different thing? Right? They almost shouldn't both be called milk. So people have major differences with those, which is why I was big into all that stuff. I've been around the block and a lot of the health stuff. When I was in Washington State, they allow cow's milk raw to be sold, so I used to drink it out there, and I'm fine with it. And I used to do this mix, which was crazy. I would get raw cow's milk, and I would drop a couple of raw eggs in it, and then I would drop in some raw honey and blend that all up really good and drink that. Oh man, that stuff was good. That stuff was good. Which, oh man, yeah, I remember how good that stuff is now. That might be worth trying at some point. But it's a pain because I can't go to Coopersville because my car's crap and my spine can't take driving that far every week. It's not good. So I need to limit my driving. So I can't really go to Coopersville to buy raw milk. And then I would, I still have to test eggs. I'm not sure about eggs. And I still have to check out honey. I'm not sure about honey. So there's a lot of issues with that plan. But, ooh, man, that stuff was good. I basically had this stuff every day when I was in Washington State for a couple of months, and I was climbing mountains and feeling good. So it's interesting. Let's see. Oh, work. The teaching thing. Dada. It's the weird name. Dada ABC is the weird name of this one teaching company. The one I've shifted most of my work to, because the smaller companies having a hard time coming up with customers. The smaller companies, the one I proposed all the Harry Potter classes to and stuff, and everyone liked them. Literally everyone thought it was a great idea, liked the lesson plans, everything that I showed it to, except for the founder and president of the company. She's the only one. And I mean, she said in one of her emails that she has no idea what she's doing as far as teaching. That's my job. But she didn't think the Harry Potter thing was a good thing, even though a bunch of other people liked it and all the teachers liked it. So really, really weird. So I started veering away from that company because they don't, well, one, they just can't give me any classes, basically. They don't have very much business. And then two, it's like, man, we have such great opportunities, you're throwing them away. I'm not expecting this company to last forever, so I might as well veer towards this other company. Which I knew there was issues with that. It's a huge 5,000 teacher bureaucracy. In that type of bureaucracy, you basically can't care about humans. Right? You can't run an organization with 5,000 teachers and care about humans very much. You just can't. They're numbers in a machine, right? So I knew there were those issues with it, and they penalize you for if your internet goes out, then they charge you for everything that you miss and whatnot. But I'm like, it's kind of sucks because you're already missing on your pay and then you're getting penalized, but it's acceptable. It makes sense. You don't want to miss classes, so it's a huge incentive not to do that, I guess. And everything was good. I taught for them for 9 months. I'm teaching for both companies still, but most of my hours are through the one. And I mean, this is the background, and their screen is smaller, right? So they just see part of this window, part of this wall, and then bam, that picture that my head covers, which I specifically made it like this. And we went over that in my interview. Everything's approved. Worked for 9 months, perfectly fine. Then I got flagged. They're like, your background's not good. And I'm like, what do you mean? I can use this picture and I can exchange it out because I've got other pictures. And this one you can see because the view's wider. You can see I have pictures over there. I have several pictures over on that wall. I have some pictures down here. Sometimes I pick these up and show them to students, but I can hang them up there too. And it's a great conversation piece, especially with artsy students, which a lot of kids when they're young are artsy. There are some that aren't, but a lot are. And so it worked out great. So I messaged them and told them that, and they were like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then they approved me. And then a day later, or 2 days later, something like that, they canceled all my classes again for the next week, and said my background wasn't good, but it's like a completely different person. I can't even talk to the same person. So really weird. They're just kind of jerking me around at this point. But obviously I'm gonna change my background at this point. It seems a little, arbitrary. That like 9 months in, I have thousands of hearts from students. I usually get 5 heart ratings from students in almost every class. I have 5 heart ratings from parents. I have all positive comments, and just turn me off. And I have students that were like consistently coming to me every day. Well, now I'm not going to teach them for like 2 weeks. What are the odds they're going to come back? I mean, it's a huge issue. And I messaged them about it, and they're like, "Meh, what are you upset about? Who cares?" It's like, what if someone, they're like, you're not fired, just don't come to work. And I was like, what if the company told you weren't fired, but just don't come to work for 2 weeks? And they're like, whatever. Really weird. But I'm going to put a map up on the sidewall, I guess, so a little part of it, right? The view is not as wide as this one, but a little part of that map will be in there. Then I'm thinking I'm going to get like a poster to hang over this window, essentially. Maybe like a Harry Potter poster or something. Like, what about that? I don't know. What do you want? So weird, very weird. And so it's been kind of an odd morning because I expected to wake up feeling like crap from the cheese yesterday, and I did not. And then I expected waking up to having a bunch of hours planned this week for teaching, and I do not. Or next week. So really kind of an odd morning. Threw me a bit for a loop. I'm almost done with this book. Been reading a lot slower because I'm doing a lot of other things, and I've been trying to back off reading for years. It's kind of an obsession / compulsion type of thing with me. So I mean, I've been trying to get down to like normal reading numbers, and reasonable amounts, I guess. Read a chapter or two a day, something like that, and not a book a day. It's kind of unreasonable. So I've been reading this for a long time, and I'm reading some other books at the same time. I'm always reading multiple books because I really enjoy that. But I've been moving slowly through this one, and that's where I am. I'm almost done with it. And this is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which is the first book in the Kingkiller Chronicle. And wow, this book is amazing. I just had to bring it up because I recommend it. And it's interesting. This is the 10th anniversary edition, which is very cool. It talks about the publishing in the beginning, which is super interesting. And I mean, he wrote this book. Patrick Rothfuss worked on this book for 14 years. 14 years before it got published. It's crazy. It's like some Tolkien type thing. And actually, so if you like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, it's known as a lot now because of the show, but Song of Ice and Fire is the series, or Chronicles of Narnia, like the Kingkiller Chronicle. This is definitely on that same level. And I would say, I mean, this is the first book of the series. It's a 3-book series. He's come out with 2 books so far and then 1 major side story, like a novella. I'm obviously only almost done with the first one, but if it keeps going at this level, which I expect and / hope it's going to, then I would rate it above some of those other ones. So we'll see how it goes. J.K. Rowling is amazing at plotting. Like, it doesn't get much better at plotting than her. And Tolkien, he always fidgeted with his text. He was a slow writer like Rothfuss, and so his stuff is really good. But Tolkien stuff is more like, feels like a narrative history, and Rothfuss's stuff actually is a narrative history. It's a framed story, but so it's someone telling a story, a history. But the language is better. They talk about that quite a bit with them, and I didn't believe them. Let's see. Well, there's some review from someone, but it's huge. I don't particularly want to read that. Well, let's do it anyways, right? No one writes about economic reality within this genre like Pat Rothfuss. The real-world weight of the sometimes impossible distance between the things you want and need and what you have in your pocket. No one writes about music like Pat Rothfuss. The way it sneaks into your soul, the way it feeds you like nothing else. No one writes about stories like Pat Rothfuss. How the right story at the right time can change the world. How the teller can shape a life. No one writes like Pat Rothfuss. Full stop. read this book. And it sounds like they're overselling it, but I don't think they are at this point. So it's it's at that level, which is impressive slash amazing, really cool. I'm glad I found it. And I mean, it's super famous, so it's not unusual to find. But nevertheless, I'm glad I found it. And let's see what else. Oh, weird thing. So I'm 10 days into this diet, and it looks like burger patties seem to be working pretty good as fuel for now. And I buy the fattier ones, 80/20, and some of the fat drips off. I'll probably keep mostly cooking them on the grill. Preferably, you would probably be getting more fat than that, but oh well, I guess. And like my muscles are recovering, which is crazy because I've had issues with my muscles ever since I got sick in Africa. Basically, when I work out hard, my muscles shrink, and because they're not able to recover because my body's so jacked up. And the same thing that grows your muscles is your immunity, or the same thing that fights off sickness and disease and stuff. And all of my immune system is obviously really messed up. So, well, I've said the only bad things about Africa are the bacteria and the people. Right? Other than that, great place. So my muscles are recovering. It seems like I don't do much in the way of physical activity because it doesn't work out well for me at all. But I do little bent presses every day for my spine, and then hold on to the kettlebells. I do them with kettlebells and that type of thing. And I mean that's not much else. It's kind of insane, but I can feel my muscles recovering, which is very interesting. And one of the women's stories that I read, which is very unique, there's a lot of them, but I like hers especially because she's been on the diet for 20 years, which is super interesting. And she went on it for health reasons. She had a bunch of health issues. She didn't go on it for like sports performance reasons, which are legitimate, but they don't really apply to me at this point. I'm looking for health slash not having super horrible health type stuff, or mitigating horrible health, however you want to say it. And being on it for 20 years, she eats ribeye, right? She eats like 2 ribeyes and drinks water a day, and that's it for 20 years. 20 years. I mean, it's insane. Her and her husband, and mostly her kids too. It's incredible. So her story is really cool, and she's 44, and she put up a picture when she was writing down the story, explaining a bunch of stuff in early February from this year, 2018. And she's in amazing shape. She's in a bikini, and she's muscular, and she's lean. And she said she hasn't worked out in several years because her muscles are getting too big. So she thought she was looking too masculine. And I didn't know if I, should really believe it. I don't know if I'm skeptical by nature or I learned to be skeptical by studying philosophy so much at a young age, but I'm pretty skeptical all the time, basically. But now, I'm starting to, I guess, just like that book. But now I'm starting to believe it on day 10. Like my muscles seem to be recovering better, and it's working. I don't know, it seems to be working out. So we'll see how it goes longer term. But still, I don't feel like eating burgers particularly. They're just kind of like, kind of bland, but it's all right. And I really don't feel like eating steak, so I haven't been. I love cheese. Oh man, that cheese I ate, it was good. So I got to play with that a little bit. But some people have a lot of success with just meat and cheese. So, and they can't like drink milk, but they can do meat and cheese. Well, we'll see how that goes. And obviously I got to test other stuff. I got to test shellfish. A lot of people have issues with shellfish, but some people don't. So I got to test it. I got to test fish. I got to test pork again, and different versions of pork. I got to test eggs. So there's a lot of different stuff in that direction I have to test. But overall, I was hoping it would go well, but you have to be careful with hope. So I haven't been expecting it to go well. I've just been hoping it to go well, and now I'm kind of expecting it to go well. So hopefully that turns out to be true, because that's where disappointment comes from. It's getting expectations and then having those expectations fall through. Anyways, and then I've applied to a few jobs over the last couple of days. So luckily, I have at least something in the works. I mean, I'm still working for the one company, but it's not as much. I'm looking at picking up one client just completely on my own too, not through a company. We'll see if I can convince them to do that or not. Hopefully it would be cool, and I could make more that way, and it's really convenient. I like having direct contact with the kids anyways, especially if their English level is decent. And let's just email back and forth. We'll use a video conferencing software. I can come up with the material. Just pay me on paypal.me/Jeffrey A. Martin. Bam, right? Easy. That's all the technology you need. It's not that bad. It's not that hard. And everything works really good. So, and I've done it. So we'll see if I can pick up one client of my own. I've been thinking about opening a company in that direction. There's a lot of hurdles to jump through, mostly the marketing and coming up with students aspect. Also some other technical hurdles to jump, but maybe if I'm able to come up with one student, they say that's your hardest customer, then maybe that's leading down that road. We shall see. So even though, right, there's bad things happening, there's good things in the works, it seems like. And I'm just happy with some improvement in the health, because I've had a lot of deterioration. So any improvement there kind of overshadows a lot of other stuff, even though finances really worry me. And we'll see. There's some desperate things I can do there too. Desperate men do desperate things, and there are some desperate actions I could take in the finance direction. So we'll see how that goes. But either way, it's interesting, and I have a lot of stuff to get done today. I still have to do my taxes. I have to do a psychology reports thing, and I kind of want to just sit down and read the rest of that book. I'm gonna kind of try not to do that, but I might end up doing that. We'll see how it goes. And then hopefully today/tomorrow I'll get another article put out, which is going to be super interesting. I think we're going to call it Bruce, Bart Simpson, and Me. And it'll be super interesting about stories and heroes and archetypes and that type of thing. Anyways, until next time, Jeff out.